This episode, we're going to be covering the bits from the last Steven Bomb. I'm not Victor Frost, and this is Steven Universe. Hey everyone, as you can tell, this is a little bit different from what you're normally expecting from this show. As I said, I'm not Victor Frost. In fact, I don't actually have a name yet. Maybe you guys can help me out with that. At any rate, Victor's a little bit preoccupied right now, so I'm filling in to help out. Let's get started with the bits. I have a script over here. Okay, here we go. And cue the transition. Also possible, I bias ya tit. I just noticed this, but that outlet is only 2 prongs, meaning there's no grounding plug. His house isn't up to code. Color me unsurprised. This whole sequence plays out like an RPG, finding an odd item and trying it on stuff on old levels to see if it does anything. Are those knees sticking out of the ground? Okay, he could have drank that at any time. So they do this whole dramatic sequence of using the key in the door, but he could have just walked around?
This is just a bunch of garbage Mom left behind.
Okay, so stop and think about why he gets this face. Lion coughs up the key and Steven thinks Rose instructed Lion to give it to him now. To Steven, that key is a message. What this key unlocks will tell you your purpose. What does he find when he gets to the place that he thinks will define his purpose? Just a bunch of garbage his mom left behind. The implication for Steven is terrible and harkens back to the conversation he had with Cloud Rose. And that's why he kicks the helmet. Lucky that he does, too. A perfect example of deceptive framing. Love it. This tape was made after the one for Steven because the seagull is already here. Greg nails his intro, and Rose knows what button to press.
She keeps leaving me puzzle pieces. Sooner or later, I'm going to understand what I'm for.
This is pretty much the definition of a conspiracy theory, trying to divine a purpose or narrative from a bunch of disparate, unrelated things assumed to be related. This part isn't on his original tape. I guess Steven needed that key to unlock additional content. A line so cool, it changed the aspect ratio. Where in the world is Veronica Cucamonga? 88.5 is not only the station Greg's van was tuned to, but apparently also the frequency of a radio station Victor worked at. Not Onion's shadow.
That spaceship's permanently earthbound.
Grounded. Permanently grounded. How could you miss such an obvious joke? Wait, is that actually physics? Can we get a physics person on this? Not Onion's shadow. The whoosh is blue. Hey, check it out. The animators took the time to put a bokeh effect on the light from the flashlight. Additional fun fact, the shape of a bokeh indicates the shape of the aperture or whatever the light is traveling through to get to the sensor or film. If you look on the wall in the background, there's a Beachapalooza, a Purple Puma and Tiger Millionaire, and a Vote for My Dad posters on the wall. Onion's heels are flat. He has action figure feet. Lars missed the opportunity to go with green frosting.
You should bring some food because that's what you do at a potluck. It's so funny.
Why is that funny? It's like saying, we're gonna drive. You should drive too. Steer with the steering wheel because that's what you do when you drive. It's funny. I don't get it. You ever notice Sadie kinda looks like Isabelle from Animal Crossing? Alaska exists. Hooray for world building. Laramie's struggle with the risk of authenticity in social situations is absolutely relatable and underscores his obvious struggle with social anxiety among his peers. Steven's point of if they like you, and if they don't, it's their loss is really good advice. Also, chicken cutlets. Sadie doesn't introduce herself as Laramie's girlfriend. Honest to God, maybe it's just me, but I don't hear a lick of guitar anywhere in there. So it looks like Beach City uses LED-based street lamps. Old-style street lamps, the ones with that classic orange light, use sodium vapor bulbs. The one shown here is casting a greenish white light, which is common on the LED array street lamps you'll find here in Los Angeles. For comparison, we can see the porch light on Laramie's house is casting an orangey light, typical of old tungsten bulbs. The last time we heard Steven's Postman song was back in episode 3, Cheeseburger Backpack. The fact that it's a reused Wanted poster is obvious. What's a little more subtle is that Onion is walking off with those tickets close to midnight, so either the Funland arcade is open that late, or, more likely I think, Onion broke in.
What kind of mother would I be if I didn't make a copy of all my daughter's keys?
I don't know, Barb, a mother with a sense of boundaries? 10-cent arcade.
Don't leave me with another enigma!
This line might as well be the tagline for the whole show. Some things Garnet says you can just tell are coming from Ruby. This is a great use of silence to convey emotion. That second-and-a-half pause perfectly communicates the mental, the gems we're making before Garnet put everyone back on track. Does the separation between the outline and fills for the background ever bother you? I mean, I don't typically notice it, but when I do, it's like, oh man.
I'm not looking for your dad. I'm looking for my dad. I need to find my dad.
So here's my question. They're obviously playing this whole my dad as a singular name thing for the reveal of the misconception, and sure, I get it. But if you actually stop to think about it, it doesn't make any sense. Near as I can tell, gems speak perfect English. They are shown to have a broad, complex vocabulary, they are fluent in its syntax, and clearly understand the concept of self and of ownership/belonging. If they don't know what a dad is, that's fair, they have no equivalent. But they know what the word my means, because we see them using it correctly, my diamond being the biggest example. So if Peridot wrote in her notes of her interaction with Steven, quote, my dad, end quote, the first question any gem who looks at that would ask is, my what? What's a dad? The whole thing rather falls apart once you remember that, but the thing is, this joke could actually be salvaged with a little tweaking. If we take what I just explained and add to it the fact that Aquamarine interprets the other names as types of humans rather than individual identities, something that makes sense given that gems work that way, you could set up the joke that rather than her looking for quote-unquote my dad, she's looking for dad, any dad, and the joke would work effectively the same way. Here, check it out.
Are you dad?
A gem!
Are you dad? I need to find dad.
No, I'm not.
That's 10 seconds of footage they didn't have to animate. This face and this face don't match together, even though they're back to back. She got knocked out in the knockout booth. As comedy genius Slappy the Squirrel would say, now that's comedy. Yes, Pearl, announce what you're going to do so they have the chance to counter you. Please don't, for example, summon a dozen hollow pearls, each with their own spears, and attack from multiple fronts. That would be a terrible idea. By the way, what happened to the weapon upgrades Bismuth gave them? Amethyst's flail, Pearl's trident, Garnet's brass knuckles? Where did they go? Steven, Laramie, and Jamie have a real hard time getting their heads in the game. They really need to woman up. Onion's head looks like a poop emoji. And that's what we learned this time on Steven Universe. I gotta go and get ready for my own thing, but Victor should be back next episode where he has to talk about the whatever the Steven Universe 1 hour special is. This is his shtick, not mine. Anyways, if you like the channel, please like, share, and subscribe. If you don't, I don't care. This channel and everything on it, including me, were brought to you by our Patreon supporters. These people on the bottom of your screen. Thanks to their generous support of donating money every month, though I can't imagine why, we can make stuff like this. And that's it. Get out of my house. Oh yeah, we gotta have the Frostworks bumper at the end.